Welcome to the Blessed to Teach show. This is your host, Rick, here on February 7th. We're Thursday, and we have Adam Shifty Schiff being busted. New information coming out about him, showing his guilt with this dossier. We're going to dig into that. We also have an SB2 Decode and all kinds of interesting conclusions coming from Serial Brain 2. So we got some people coming on. Terry's on again as the first person. We got Midnight Girl, Jim. Thank you, Larry from Missouri. And we got Jay from California, Brian from Michigan. What else do we have here? Joe Pa from Texas. We got Arizona, Minnesota, Boise, Idaho, Alberta, Wisconsin, on and on, Albuquerque, etc. Let's get rolling here with Busted Adam Shifty Schiff and the dossier getting busted more and more every time. We have the SB2 Decode, quite a bit of news. Let's dig into it right now. If we actually see this John Solomon article, he just had a bombshell yesterday on Robert Mueller and his FISA abuse back in 2002. And said what was interesting about that, so obviously right after the 2001 time when the FISA court was being abused, a lot of those abuses were happening before Mueller came on, right? So it's real interesting that he developed a mechanism to actually confirm and verify evidence. That process is what's been broken so much. So the fact that John Solomon actually revealed that yesterday just shows that we're getting information from the White Hats every single week, 2 or 3 big bombshells, and there was one of them yesterday. And then today we get another one on Adam Schiff, Glenn Simpson, and their Forrest Gump-like encounter in Aspen, Colorado. And so what's interesting about this is you have Shifty Schiff, and it talks about the new House Intelligence Committee chairman, Adam Schiff, was proven to be his party's most favorite effective antagonist toward President Trump. And now, with the new powers of being chairman, he is drawing both new weapon and new scrutiny. Sometimes such scrutiny inevitably turns to questions of hypocrisy, which brings us to the issue of some photographs taken at the prestigious Aspen Security Conference last July. They show Schiff meeting at the event with Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson. Whoa, this is the same Fusion GPS, obviously, that was doing the opposition research against Trump, hired by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and helped prepare and hire Christopher Steele to do the dirty, fake dossier. And so one of the key most controversial figures in the Russia collusion scandal, both men insisted to me through spokesman that they met only briefly last July. At the time of the encounter, Simpson was an important witness in the House Intelligence Committee probe who had given sworn testimony about alleged but still unproven collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. So just you can read the rest of this article. I'll have a link to it in my show notes, obviously, but it really shows that this is really ugly stuff. Here's a quote. "It's interesting that Simpson is at the heart of the dossier, and the dossier played a mighty role in not only going after Carter Page, but in much of Adams and Eric Swandl's Democratic California quest to find collusion that Schiff would, in fact, in that exact same conversation or time frame, be in the conversation or appear to be in the conversation with the guy who was principally responsible for the dossier." Conway said, "Whatever happened in Aspen won't stay in Aspen much longer. Expect Republicans in Washington to launch some questions at the House New Intelligence Committee chairman." So there's Shifty Schiff, busted for shopping this dossier. He's been the cheerleader of the dossier, and now he realized, oh my goodness, it's completely fallen apart. He's trying to get away from it, and boom, they find that not only was he shopping it, he was actually meeting with the founder of the Fusion GPS. So ugly stuff happening for him. and to make sure ugly stuff doesn't happen to you, make sure that you're protecting your IP address. It's an IP address is on your router, and every bit of traffic can be tracked to that IP address, right? So to actually hide that, you can use what they call a VPN, a virtual private network. And so you know that CNN just announced last month that YouTube will be censoring any video that having to do with the 9/11 or conspiracy theories. And it doesn't stop with just us creators. Anyone who's watching this content most likely is going to be recorded, stored, and analyzed by the powers that be for viewing this material in the first place. That's why at times like this, using a VPN is a great idea. Introducing Virtual Shield VPN. Trusted by many, it's the easiest and fastest to use VPN, and will never sell your information to the big data. They don't even keep logs. With the click of a button, change your IP address to a different location so that the internet spies watching you will be thrown into a tailspin. You can see when I show Virtual Shield here, it says connect, disconnect. I can change to all different types of cities and different parts of the world to hide my IP address, where it changes it from, I've shown you that many times, how it changes it from my 187 to a totally different IP address, which is a beautiful thing to make sure people can't track what's going on with your traffic, right? So that's the basics of security. And you can get this for what is normally a $20 a month, $25 a month for real fast, good VPNs. And this one is one of the fastest, one of the easiest to work, does not keep logs, and it's only $10.99 a month for a 1 month plan. 6 month plan is going down to $8.99. You do a 24-month plan, it goes to $3.24. They also have this IdentiSafe, which will uses patent pending technology to block your webcam, microphone, security, delete first files, and more. And so again, virtualshield.com/blessed. Make sure you hit the /blessed to get this deal that I'm talking about right now. So virtualshield.com/blessed to get your VPN going and make sure you're protecting your traffic. Let's get into some SB2 Decode. This guy's amazing. And so here he's talking about Trump's SO2 address, an amazing speech, a necklace, and a secret in plain sight. So here we go. Wow, what a speech. Tonight I asked you to choose greatness. This line alone sums up the high aspirations this man has for our country. It's not about one guy being low or another guy being high or kicking anything. It's about all of us being great. What a lesson. Look at the polls. I showed you this last night. 97% Republicans approved the speech. Democrats, 30% of them approved of it. Independents, 82% approved of the speech. Most viewers approved Trump's second State of the Union address. 3/4 approve of Trump's speech. Trump earns high marks for the State of the Union in CBS and CNN polls. So SBT continues. This speech was pure political genius. Of course, the fake news had its horde of human bots, possessed influencer, and other social media hybrid creatures focused on something else, something low, something meaningless. This time, it was about the maestro's tie. Fake news media focus on maestro's tie. Look at all the CNBC, the Pelosi clap, standing ovations, and the wonky tie. How the world reacted to Trump's SO2. Here's Newsweek. Donald Trump's crooked tie ignites Twitter as president gives a State of the Union address. Crazy that they're focusing on this. Here's Jimmy Kimmel mocks Donald Trump's SO2 address longer than his tie. Here you have Trump's off-kilter tie was all anyone could talk about in the State of the Union. Give me a break. See completely fake news there coming from some of these places. Here's Trevor Noah analyzes State of the Union and Trump's crooked tie. So I didn't even notice this. So that's why fake news because I didn't watch any fake news stations over the last 24 hours. But when I saw this, I had to determine if this was another coded message from the maestro. I looked around and found the sequence that helped understand this question. So you see here, straight tie as he enters. So you can probably see this picture where he's running in. His tie is completely straight. And then you see he actually, Billy Long, he shakes this guy's hand. And that's when it went off kilter, right after he shaked this guy's hand. And so you can see it went crooked right after that. And then after he shook Billy Young's, he just never adjusted it. So Trump's entering the House's chamber for the State of the Union. The tie was displaced, and it just stayed there. So the conclusion is the maestro's tie was initially straight and was displaced in action. So it probably wasn't a coded thing because he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't even check his tie. He just came in and delivered a historic speech. As you can see, the maestro steps in. His tie is perfectly straight. It's only after he shakes hands with Representative Billy Long that it's naturally displaced. There was therefore no rationally intended messages with the tie. Those of you in the podcast, it really was straight up top, and then it just kind of went, as it was going lower, it kind of went left underneath his coat. So it was just tilted to the left a little bit. Complete accident. There was therefore no rational intended message with the tie. All this got me thinking. I took a closer look at Nancy's necklace. Did you notice that during the maestro speech, it was leaning to the right? Was it fashioned fancy or the way the necklace was designed? So if you look at this, Nancy's necklace is completely straight. It's all blue with a little red in the middle, right? Red beads in the middle and then a blue to the right and left of it. And you see he comes to an opposite conclusion here because it's straight all the time. But here, so here goes necklace perfectly straight as Nancy enters Congress. Necklace perfectly straight when waiting for POTUS here in these two pictures. But then once she did that little hand gesture that went over everybody when he was praising all the women in Congress, it's crooked. It's all to the right. Here it's to the right when she's looking through the papers. Crooked necklace during Trump's speech. So when did that happen? Was it just an accidental thing like with Trump's tie? A picture of Nancy entering Congress shows it was none of the above. Her necklace was perfectly straight. It was also perfectly straight when she was standing next to the VP Pence waiting for POTUS. It only got displaced at some point during Trump's speech. Next, we have to determine, just like we did for the maestro's tie, how the necklace was displaced. To remain consistent, let's stay with the Fox News feed. So if you look at this at 3112, and then you look at 3512, you'll see the difference. So here's 3112 or so. You'll see clearly it's straight. So her little beads and everything from Nancy and blows up in the book and it leads them back to Nancy. You'll see, yeah, her neck was straight right there, right?
And my fellow Americans.
Now, if you go to 35 minutes and 40 seconds is what he points us to next, you see it's clearly not straight. And here he's introducing it's clearly
Gentlemen,
all the way to the right.
We salute you.
A purposeful twist. It looks like a tilt to the right. So who did that, right? So the question is in between it. And so once he introduces Joseph Riley, Irvin Walker, Herman Zetchik, Nancy's necklace was noticeably moved to the right. Now, we now know what happened between those times. So at 31:33, Maestro confirms his 1641 tweet about unity and saying these amazing lines. So he said this, hey, we need unity. And he talked about before that, which is interesting, is we need to stop investigations, right? And we need to come together. And he also said this, he tweeted out at exactly 4:41 p.m., looking forward to tonight, so too. And it says, and he had a clip of Drudge Report that had to call for unity. Trump's approval rating 48%. Teflon Don, Drudge Report says. But here's what he said right before the necklace got turned crooked. Millions of our fellow citizens are watching us gathered in this great chamber, hoping we will govern not as two parties, but as one nation. So he stand up ovation, Nancy claps, and she is sitting down. This happens. And this is really interesting. I would have never noticed this. See, totally straight at 31:12, and then all of a sudden you can see her grab the necklace right there. At 32:05, she grabs the necklace. 35:02, she moves it to the right. And then she settles it down again. And you can see it was clearly to the right based on Nancy moving it there. Completely opposite of what we said. So this again happened at 32 minutes and 5 seconds. So we can go back up to here and look at that 32 minutes and 5 seconds about. There we are. We're looking at the Fox feed here. 32. That's probably the closest it's going to get me. So in about 5 seconds, it's going to show her moving it.
The agenda I will lay out this evening is not
so it's kind of hard to go back very forward.
Interest first. There is a new opportunity in American politics if only we have the courage together to seize it.
talking about. And moving necklace to the right. Which I thought was really interesting.
Victory is not winning for our party. Victory is winning for our country.
3205. This thing has been a really active time, unfortunately. Since I got right in the middle of it. Very bad way to do this. I'm trying to show it one more time, but she clearly, right after the standing ovation, she will. She's right here. I think this is it.
The agenda I will lay out this evening is not a Republican agenda.
Does that mean anything, or was that just an accident? Because he clearly can feel that big clump of red dill there, right? So here we get his analysis. And so, bingo, Nancy displaced her necklace and made it lean to the right immediately after POTUS called for unity. Coincidence? Is she signaling she's ready to move on the red and blue pearls of the House more to the right and meet Trump halfway? Is she saying yes to Trump's call? Did she hear Trump's warning and is now ready to stand up to her unhinged left wing? Is she ready to play rule ball and put an end to what Trump called further in his speech? Ridiculous partisan investigations? Let's take a closer look at the tweet. So if you look at the tweet, you look at 441. That is, in military time, that is 1641. So if you go look at 1641, drop from QAnon, there's a thing called share blue in there. And he's also taking the capital letters from this, which is L and then SO2, right? And he takes that to the gematria of 87. He says, I need a sign. So 87 also says, I need a sign. So was this a coded message to Nancy to say, I need a sign? Interesting, because Nancy Nexus represents Congress. Share blue refers to sharing the moderate Democrat vote forced to get things done. So you can see this necklace. So if you blow up this necklace, you can see this necklace. Those of you who are not on the podcast, but it's basically a bunch of red beads in the middle. So clearly she could have made that straight pretty easily. And then there's only two blue beads on the right and the left, right? So it's clearly turned to the right. And so SB2 is thinking that's on purpose. And so capital letters 87, I need a sign. This is Trump coding his call for unity. Do you want to work with me for the benefit of the American people, or do you want a confrontation you now know you will inevitably lose? Let me know. The timestamp is 1641. Let's go to Q, 1641. We find that the share blue, do you see it? This blue is the group of moderate Dems Trump is inviting Nancy to share with him to make Congress work. These reasonable Dems could be spotted as Trump was entering the House. They were the ones trying to shake his hands or even get their hats autographed. So it says, notice that 2723. Again, this is not real accurate, so we'll see. But you'll see he is shaking everybody on the right hands. That he went to the left as he's walking in to shake the hands of a few others. But here he is. You see somebody touch him on the back. Right here. Several times. Let's see if I got this right. On the time. You see Nancy's is straight at that point in time. So he wanted the timestamp to be 27:23. It must have been slightly off. 27:23. That's where I was trying to go. Back up a little further. Here he comes in. He shakes the Democrat on the right hand there, but a couple of Democrats there. There we go. And now a bunch of Republicans on the right. And then you see somebody touch him. Touched him there. That female touched him. He did his touches. Back there. So he's just pointing to all these Democrats that wanted to shake his hand. There's the person in blue. Hit him once, twice. He's gonna hit him for a third time trying to shake his hand. There he goes. Finally shakes his hand. Bottom line is he's talking about Minority Leader McCarthy skillfully makes the connection. Politics at its finest, folks. Now you know that Nancy's necklace represents, let me turn this off, the House and that its colors were not chosen randomly. Red for Republicans, blue for Dems. Nancy is an experienced politician. She knows that when her opponent has demonstrated his skills and power, the smart thing to do is to accommodate him as much as she can, and that is what the necklace leaning to the right means. Did you notice Adam and his little white bodyguards, Cortez and Co. link? Now, that he kind of ends that there. I thought that he could have been analyzed a little bit more, but wow, that would be pretty amazing if Nancy was going to do that. But then I hear that right after the SB2, she's actually putting stuff back on the table when it comes to the wall that was off the table for the last, couple months. But this is crazy. Look at the white bodyguards. I didn't realize that Adam Schiff was here as a lone person with 100, 1, 2, 3, what is there, 20, 30 of these women in white, dressed in white, all surrounding him. And so he's calling him Adam and his little white bodyguards. Soon, it's going to get bloody between Nancy and her far left wing. I can tell you that. Speaking of Adam, Peruvian coffee for those who saw the persuading tweet about him. And so here was a tweet that was all about whitehouse.gov, millennials, send our greetings to those celebrating the Lunar New Year. It goes on about the Lunar New Year. It was done at 12:08 p.m. So if you look at 12:08 drop, sure enough, it talks about Adam Schiff. And it talks about this West Hollywood's Maria Sunshine Coogan identified as a victim of that Scottsdale plane crash, right? And you look at the capital letters in the tweet, you get sports betting. So the way SB2 is looking at that on the second topic he's moving to about Adam Schiff, capital letters add up to 184, same as sports betting. The maestro is referring to the bets about Adam in my previous post. So go back a couple days ago, I reviewed an SB2 Decode and talked all about bets, B-E-T-S. Look at the timestamp, 12:08. Let's go to Q 12:08. It talks about AS. Coincidence? It says expand further. It puts in Wendy, Hussein, and Allison Mack. It also connects to the article about the death of Maria S. Coogan. The maestro is letting us know that the conjecture linking Adam Schiff to bets via the SB2 date was over the target. In addition to the heat building up on his Russia probe leaks, Adam Schiff is also targeted by what we, the Q community, already know about what happened at the Standard Hotel. And what's so interesting about this is I'm not sure when SB2 wrote this and published it, but now we see these articles coming out about Adam Schiff, the big bombshell about him being busted, right? So the process is launched. Now you know what Adam was signaling when surrounding himself with all these little white bodyguards. He's saying these extreme leftists here, all in white, are with me, Trump. Don't mess with me. Now question, who do you think the maestro is talking to when he codes this in his tweet? I need a sign. Do you remember Nancy's scarf on the 33rd day of the shutdown? The scarf was with the Chinese colors. That was 2 decodes ago of SB2. Who do you think really controls our corrupt politicians, planted businessmen, and fake news media? The Russian hoax was created as a smokescreen so that the American people could not spot who they really work for. So now almost a lot of people think it's just the Mossad, but no. Q2351 says, look here, Russia. Do not look here, China. Okay, look here, Russia in brackets. Do not look here, China in brackets. In this article, you will learn about how China controls an international media network and how it's activated. So we know they're buying up Hollywood studios. They're trying to control our minds. Almost all the debt they're buying up is from China. And now they have a huge propaganda machine. Here's the article it's talking about. It says, inside China's audacious global propaganda campaign. And the subtitle here is Beijing is buying up media outlets and training scores of foreign journalists to tell China's story well, as part of a worldwide propaganda campaign of astonishing scope and ambition. So they have a massive control over a lot of this cabal and a lot of the propaganda that they have. And you can read this article again. It'll be in the show notes. Just subscribe put your email to the email list, and you'll get a link to it each time I'm done with the show notes for each show. And so back to this, it's like in this article you will learn that China controls an international media network and how it's activated. Fascinating. If you are not aware that America's wealth has been deceitfully exported to China, which in turn spread its tentacles in America and worldwide with the help of our top politicians, businessmen, and fake news media operators, you are missing 90% of the Q conversation. China's economic success is artificial and was only possible because our former politicians allowed it. This is why the maestro does not consider President Xi, who also has a deep state franchise, as an enemy. He does not blame it on the Chinese. He blames it on our stupid and treasonous political and business leaders. Q 1959. China hacked HRC server. False. Access was granted. The Chinese had access directly to HRC servers, had special access programs and all kinds of confidential information. She was part of the sellout of our country to China. The maestro strategy is to correct this by attacking the very foundations of this artificial success. Hence the trade war, Huawei, and other asphyxiating geopolitical moves like Venezuela or the recent U.S. military operations in Africa. This integrated economic warfare approach is what General Mattis did not see, and that Trump is running behind the scenes. It's devastating. Soon, the fruit will be ripe, and China will have to accept Trump's checkmate and negotiate with him a real trade deal with real numbers and real currency. All their currency manipulation, still in intellectual property, still manipulating the politicians to actually, or just taking advantage of the corrupt politicians to actually get everything, such as Feinstein, such as Hillary Clinton, etc., right? Q 2378. All inside roads to China are being closed. America is no longer for sale. Q. This is amazing things going behind the scenes, guys. It's just amazing. In the meantime, President Trump and President Xi have to establish trust and show how they respectively control. This gives me the opportunity to keep my promise and tell you who tipped off CNN about Roger Stone's arrest. I know it looks like two different things, but bear with me. You'll see the connection very soon. Did you notice that despite being the first on the case, CNN remained evasive about the number of vehicles and FBI officers dispatched to raid Stone's house? So this image is really funny. Stone's arrest, CNN first to be on site, but avoids reporting the exact numbers. So if you look at what CNN said, they said a number of law enforcement officials with silent sirens flashing, about a dozen officers with heavy weapons. So they say number of law enforcement and dozen officers, about a dozen officers. But what does actually Roger Stone say? He reports the real facts. He says 29. So you see in all these other Washington Post, Breitbart, Yahoo, Chicago Tribune, Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, Political, CBS News, Fox News, everybody else reported what Roger Stone said. At the crack of dawn, 29 FBI agents arrived at my home with 17 vehicles and their lights flashing. Roger Stone. So all these other places, BBC News, 12 News, AP, Ford, CBS, they all reported that 17 vehicles, which is Q, obviously, 17Q, and 29 is a lamb. Roger Stone is a sacrificial lamb. And so the rest of the media quoted Stone and informed us there was 29 FBI agents and 17 vehicles. This, in CNN's language, is translated to a dozen officers and a number of law enforcement officials or vehicles. Why is CNN avoiding these numbers? Of course they hate the number 17, because it equals Q. But there's more. This number 29 stands for a lamb. You caught that Mueller got Manafort first, then targeted Corsi, then Stone. Why? Because he's moving his way up. This is what I tell you guys. He's looking us up. I'm looking at it as you first take true MAGA people, then you take the corrupt, which is the Cohens and the Manaforts of the world, and now you're moving to the controlled opposition, Corsi and Stone. So why? Because he's moving his way up, closer to the true Illuminati, right? The true cabal. Q1009. Why is Mueller going after inside plants? Inside plants are MAGA plants. They're controlled opposition. So he's talking about Alex Jones, and he's talking about Jack Posobiec. He's talking about Isaac Green, all these people that have been bought off, right? Including Roger Stone and Corsi. Stone is a sacrificial lamb, allowing Mueller to gather more info and to get the big guys. So when I say Mueller is a flipped black hat helping the white hats, I call it a white hat. Some people call it a gray hat. You can see SBC agree. I guess going back to Neon Revolt, you're talking about Praying Medic agrees with me, and so here does SB2. So you may think I'm insane, but at least I've got common insane people with me, okay? Stone is a sacrificial lamb, allowing Mueller to gather more info to get the big guys. That's what this is about. Remember, this is not about those smaller things. This is about the big stuff. This is about going after the cabal, the century-old cabal. It's not about arresting Hillary Clinton and arresting Obama. That's a small stuff compared to what they're going for. And look at what Q2102 says. What happens if Mueller proves Free Speech Systems LLC, aka InfoWars, is linked to a foreign intel agency or other non-domestic entity? Clearly, Q is informing us the actual name of the entity that InfoWars is controlling InfoWars, that is Mossad. And now it doesn't say Mossad here, but it's in a non-domestic agency, a foreign intel agency. That's what most people think it's going to be based upon Corsi doing many Israeli-oriented, being pictured with Rockefellers, etc. Another function of the sacrificial lamb is that Stone lied to Congress, and his arrest sets the stage for future arrests of all those who lied to Congress, as rightly pointed out here for our excellent Sarah Sanders. So here's Sarah Sanders talking about just that.
Biggest takeaway that we have is what I just said. This doesn't have anything to do with the president, doesn't have anything to do with the White House. One question that I would be interested to see is if these same standards apply. The charges that have been brought are about false testimony. If those same standards will be applied to people who we know have given false testimony in the same matter, like Comey and Clapper and Clinton and others that are in a similar position.
She says Comey, Clapper, Clinton. So Comey, Clapper, Clinton all lied under oath, just like Manafort did, just like Flynn said he did, even though he was innocent. These are process crimes about lying to Congress, and they're being arrested. So obviously Clinton, Comey, Clapper, others, they're setting the stage for them to be taken out. Exciting. Now you know why Stone's arrest had to be mediaized, right? The media had to be there. That's why the CNN was there before the cops even showed up. But then how do you activate the fake news media when they hate you? Well, who alerted CNN to be there? And here's Trump's tweet on 11/16. So if you look, so again, when you take these tweets and you actually go to the actual Q drop 11/16, look what happens here. He says, greatest witch hunt in history of our country. No collusion. Border, coyotes, drug dealers, and human traffickers are treated better. Who alerted CNN to be there? And you go to 11/16. It says, thank you, Chi. Good start. So 11/16 points us to President Xi of China. So his conclusion is CNN was tipped off by China. Interesting. So obviously, if you have a dog that's on a leash and it's about ready to bite you, says if you're attacked by an angry dog, would you rather negotiate with the dog or with the one holding the leash? obviously you want to negotiate with the person holding the leash. And you see Trump here on January 10th, 2019. He said, I find China, frankly, in many ways, to be far more honorable than crying Chuck and Nancy. I really do. I think that China is actually much easier to deal with than the opposition party. So who's holding Nancy and Chuck's leash? It's China. Answer, you talk to their boss. If you are attacked by an angry dog, would you rather negotiate with the dog or with the one holding the leash? Look at the timestamp of Maestro's tweet about CNN, 11:16. And Q1116 says, thank you, Z. Good start. Do you see it? The white hats activated China to tip off CNN, and they are thanking them for doing so. This achieved two things. One, China gave proof of their control over the media. Two, tested and verified comms at intermediary level. The intermediate level comms with China were skillfully shut down by Maestro to destabilize their intel assets and the U.S. This worked so well, the Chinese ambassador epically complained about it in front of an astonished Chris Wallace. I'm not going to play that for you, but he basically talks about he's confused about how to even communicate with Trump because Trump seems to be the only one making the decisions, right? So all these intermediaries that used to help China figure out how to manipulate us, he's cut that out now. So here's the end of this. Drop Decode by SB2. It says, now you know why the Maestro compared negotiating with China to negotiating with Chuck and Nancy. It's one and the same thing, except in one case, the dog does not try to bite and knows how to clap. Q2496. Item used when walking a dog. Q. The item used when walking a dog is a leash, right? So Nancy and Chuck are on the leash of China is what this comes down to. Interesting stuff. And there's that detailed article about them getting to massive propaganda. Owning Hollywood studios is a whole other topic we get for another day. Let's get into some other news. Trump is building a wall inside the Democratic Party, and they don't even know it. And this is a great article, too, about Rex. And you'll see that this goes into just some awesome analysis, just showing how ignore the hype, Pelosi is weak, and Trump strategy, splinter and toxify, a balancing act, talking about how he has this cards of Spygate, this deed that's completely controlling them because they know if that gets out, they're in huge trouble. The end game, total Democrat wipeout in 2020. So great article if you want to go see Emperor Rex here giving the detailed analysis about how Trump is building a wall inside the Democrats, basically between these left-wing socialist crazies and the moderate Democrats, and how he's building that wall between them, and they're going to start fighting like mad here soon as he sets them up for this. Here is a tweet talking about Forbes estimates that the value of Donald Trump's businesses have lost about $1 billion since he became president. He donates his paycheck back to the U.S. Hillary made tens of millions of dollars selling her country. Donald Trump lost tens of millions saving his country. And here's a meme with him sitting on Air Force One saying, Trump, the man that gave up his billionaire lifestyle to be humiliated and ridiculed and slandered in order to save the American people. Wow. So if you're proud, as I am, of having President Trump as your president, then get some memorabilia here as well as investment. And this is the President Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. I mean, if you just think about this, it's like, wow, we have historic president giving historic speeches and getting historic results, right? Here you have it, this coin. I think you know my wife made me order 7 of these for Christmas presents. She wanted one for her birthday. Now she's having me order more for more people. Again, the President of the United States, 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. You can get these in pure gold, which is 24 karat gold, which is like $1,950 per coin. But they're only, for silver, only $35. Again, delivering as promises, first as promised. And he has 4 accomplishment right there on the coin. Beautiful coin. Again, you can get free shipping if you, in the coupon code, put BLESSED. Get free shipping with the coupon code BLESSED, as well as get them for only $35. You can use them for your 401k and your IRA. Again, this is kind of taking art and silver together. So a beautiful way, I think, to celebrate this an awesome, historic president. All right, let's go to some more news here. Senate panel okays 44 more Trump judicial nominees. This is just one reason why 53-47 Senate target was so vital. So being at 53-47 makes it really hard for them to stop any judicial nominee, including Supreme Court justice nominees, right? Makes it very difficult for them to stop any of the cabinet nominations that Trump has. So it's just like an awesome thing. And if you look at the actual details of this 44, a great article. Now they have to still go through the Senate because this is just the panel, the Senate panel. But this is 44 besides a lot that he's already gotten, right? The nominee includes 6 to the federal courts, to which Trump has already appointed 30 judges. The Senate Judiciary Committee also approved 34 nominees to the federal district courts, 2 of the U.S. Courts of Federal Claims and 2 to the U.S. Courts of International Trade. 5 of the 6 nominees to the federal circuit courts were approved along party lines. So the number that's happening here is record-setting. These 44 new judges. Trump took office with more than 100 judicial vacancies, and when he gets through here, he's going to change the entire court systems to be righteous people that will uphold the Constitution. We got saved by this president. There's just no question about it. Now here's some analysis by what was happening during the SO2. There was this helicopter coming down with trees all over, and there was people that ran into the helicopter. It's a flying UH-60 Blackhawk with 54-foot rotor span up Wilshire Boulevard in the dark with no lights. Guy runs out in Guatemalan House of Culture and gets in. Tall palm trees all around. Training exercise? So people are saying this was no training exercise, even though that's what the military said. They rescued somebody. There were several people that got out, I think. In fact, a little bit later, I think I found an article, and I didn't have time to put it next to this. I'll give you a little bit more analysis of that here in a second. Some more news. It's really happening. The truth is happening, this add-on says. Do you see the unveiling of the truth? Every day that goes by, I see another media or political rat having their mask removed. The truth is happening. I think the State of the Union was a significant marker. It was Trump's final ultimatum. If you're evil, this is your last chance to publicly support America and goodness. Otherwise, we're going to decimate you with the light of truth. I think that's very insightful what that add-on said right there. Here's Elizabeth Warren admits that there may be more American Indian documents to drop. So again, she's a left-wing socialist. And so it's interesting to see how their silliness and also their corruption is starting to show, right? She clearly was using her American Indian lie for her benefit. Here's another John Solomon bombshell that came out yesterday, I believe it was. John Solomon, Adam Schiff. Oh no, this is more on the Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff and Glenn Simpson held undisclosed meetings last year, raising concern inside the Intel committee. This is just Gateway Pundit's take on it. So again, they do a pretty good. I like how they word things a little more blunt and direct. The new chairman of the House of Intel Committee, Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, had an undisclosed meeting with Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson last July at a security conference in Aspen. So, in other words, Congressman Adam Schiff was colluding with Russia Dossier Hillary Clinton waterboy Glenn Simpson at the height of the Russiagate cover-up. You can't get much more blunt than that, right? Let's just read that sentence one more again. In other words, Congressman Adam Schiff was colluding with the Russia Dossier Hillary Clinton waterboy Glenn Simpson at the height of the Russiagate cover-up. So great stuff there, as he just gets busted, as it says behind me here, right? Busted, Adam Schiff. And then just, I talked about this yesterday a little bit, but I listened to Dan Bongino go over this in detail about Mueller hauled before secret FISA court to address FBI abuses in 2002, Congress told. Now, Bongino used this as another example of why, for sure, Mueller is a black hat. And I'm not sure if he's playing a part or he really believes that. I think he really believes it, which he's wrong. And but anyway, this will all come out in the wash, because most of these abuses happened before Mueller took power, right? And Mueller actually put in a process to make it much harder, and they had the forced verification of this, right? And this article talks about that process as you go through it, and the fact is that process, didn't stop the spying of Trump, so it failed, but it documents and leaves a paper trail. So all the people are busted. Once the FISA gate comes out, they're going to be completely busted because of this process that Mueller put in. Now Bongino spun it that just because there was his FBI, even though before he took over, some of it was still going on, that he's the best guy to cover it all up, right? So that's Bongino's theory. He's 100% convinced of it. But we know, those of you who understand Q and watch Q and listen to Q, that's not what's going on, in my opinion, at least in many other people's opinion. So this article really does a great job of detailing out exactly what happened with all this, and how this whole new process was totally invalidated, but it left a great paper trail. It's called the Woods Procedures, is what he set up. Furthermore, we've learned from the congressional testimony of other FBI officials, and the dossier's contents had not been corroborated by the FBI when it was used in the FISA application. And through the Woods procedures mentioned above, required that only corroborated evidence be used in support of the warrant requests. So this Woods procedure is going to be the nightmare of basically a paper trail of showing that this FISA abuse happened, and that Spygate's going to blow up completely once the declass happens. Now, Trump seems to be using it just as a weapon right now to keep the Democrats under control. Be interesting to see if he gets his wall funding in the next few days before the 15th. I think it's going to happen. Yes, Democrats did start the Ku Klux Klan, and it's still the party of racism. So I don't think, just look at what's happening with the blackface and all this stuff, and and it was funny. I haven't seen so many Democrats in white since they started the KKK, talking about all the rebellion of the leftists in the white. So there's another good article by Daryl Hedge talking about what's factual, where they call every Republican a racist, but what's real racism is that party history, at least, right? Here's comedian Anthony Jeselnik, pedophile tweets. These are sick tweets. I can't even read these. They're so bad. But go look at this guy. This guy is sick. He's talking about sex with children in all kinds of different ways, in gross ways here. So, we just have some sick people there that obviously pedophilia is a part of the Hollywood culture for many of these people, these elitists. This person, Tim Canava, is basically saying, I've been told it was Rod Rosenstein, the deputy AG, along with his assistant Steve Wasserman, no doubt, who stopped a federal investigation into Broward's illegal destruction of ballots cast in our 2016 primary against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So the whole article about that, and how Rosenstein may have been dirty there. That's why Trump was able to flip him, because he had so much dirt on him. He showed him everything he had on him. So now this is just a meme that talks about racist. It's a noun. What's the definition of a racist in many people's mind? It's a white person who won't submit to the Marxist internationalist plan to uproot and destroy their culture and traditional way of life. That's just one way of looking at that. Here's the new Green Deal by Cortez, right? It said, it's an old deal. The AOC Green Deal means selling the USA to the Rothschilds yet again. So if you look at really what they're trying to do with getting free everything, well, it still leaves them in power. The Federal Reserve can extend credit to power these projects and investments, and new public banks can be created to extend credit. So they're going to need money to fund all this free stuff she's trying to give away, which is just going to enslave us all the more into the Fed's hands. So essentially, isn't this saying we would once again sell the USA to the Federal Reserve by borrowing their money and enslaving the USA further to the Fed? Is this the real objective behind the new Green Deal? Potentially. Interesting. So I think this is the helicopter one that I should have put by the other one. Oh yeah, this is the helicopter Anon here with some thoughts. So this guy's talking all about the fact that you know, a person that's familiar with helicopters is a former military, and he basically says there's no way this was a false flag, what happened in L.A. with those guys coming out. At the end it says, how likely do you think the generals would be to take such personal risk and career risk, and they could simply say, I command you to do this training op at a proper remote facility with building mock-ups out in the training range somewhere, and have zero risk? I guarantee you 101% that this was live military ops and not training. There is zero chance this was training. This was live ops. And he gives a whole huge long reason why that was a live op that happened there in California. This person's John Lefebvre talks about AOC, right? At AOC Cortez has a 430 credit score. So if you know 700 is kind of like a above average, 600 650 maybe a good credit score. She's got a 430 credit score, 2 evictions, and an empty resume. Just 2 months ago, she couldn't afford an apartment in D.C. Now the Democratic leadership put her on the Financial Service Committee. And the media is saying that her Green New Deal will reshape the economy. Wow, what a great person to learn from that can't even keep their own credit score, has been evicted several times, right? Interesting. Here's Donald Trump tweet today saying, highly respected Senator Richard Burr, chairman of the Senate Intelligence, said today that after an almost 2-year investigation, he saw no evidence of Russia collusion. Quote, we don't have anything that would suggest there was collusion by the Trump campaign and Russia. Unquote. Thank you, says Trump. So that came from we already got the clearance from all the investigations they were doing in the House, and now this comes from the Senate, right? Here's In the Matrix saying possible new Q-proof developing. Israel said they found secret missile facility in North Syria. And you can see the article right here. It says Q posted on 4:30 about a secret facility used by Iran in North Syria, but said it had to do with nukes. Sum of all fears. And you'll see the whole sum of our fear. Here's the article. In 1306 Q drop, you'll see it says, what if Iran created a classified satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? So future proves past. More stuff here. Here's Julian Castro. I believe Fairfax's accuser should be processed to understand what happened. So the whole Fairfax thing, and of all 3 of those, the people in Virginia actually resign. A Republican would actually be in line to take over. Be interesting if that ends up happening. How can POTUS schedule be suspended? This is our president and his schedule. Yet disgusting blue check comments and tweets go on without a problem. Cue Twilight Zone music. So literally they took out the POTUS schedule. People used to follow that very closely on Twitter. They took it out. They suspended the account. So now this guy saying Twitter suspended the POTUS schedule account today. We know from photos taken from within Trump's motorcade that the account must be related to the Trump closely. Continued, and then this person says how Q legally controls social media giants. So what this theory is of this anon is basically saying that he's pushing them to censor and be foolish so that they can get his internet bill of rights passed future. So I'm not sure if I believe that, but that is one of the theories. Don't have time to really dig into that one. Here's incarnated ET talking about, could this be why they don't want to wall, because of what the drug money brings in? A picture worth 1,000 words. In the El Chapo trial, it emerged that the former Mexican president, Peña, took $100 million bribe from the cartel. Well, here he is with Nancy Pelosi, Representative Beto O'Rourke, and Republican Henry Seller on May 3rd of 2016 in Mexico City, Mexico. Was it payday? Why would open borders Beto be there? For sure, President NATO openly endorsed Beto and put money into his campaign. So these cartels in Mexico are all in bed with these corrupt politicians. Arkansas in Spain, a woman found dead, says after accusing Bill Clinton associate of running a sex slave farm. Death ruled a suicide. Wow, this came out today, February 7th. So Arkansas seems to continue to happen. House Dems silence Steve Scalise. Powerful testimony on gun control. Inadvertently make it go viral. So they went with the guy that got shot in that ballpark, right, by that crazy guy, actually just wanted to testify, and they wouldn't let him. So he wrote and publicized his on the internet. It went viral. So it backfired on them. Here's Washington Examiner saying a tale of two headlines. Here's the New York Times. Apparently it's okay. It's only dark makeup if the VAAG, Mark Harrigan, wears blackface. So a week ago they said Mary Poppins and a nanny's shameful flirting with blackface. They're just tearing it apart. But then when the New York Times put something out about the Virginia Attorney General, says he also dressed in dark makeup. So they don't use the word blackface in the title. New York Times, double standard, obviously controlled media. Bezos' Washington Post tries to blame Trump for its owner's sexual affair. So if you go look at Washington Post and look at the sexual affair and you dig into it, it basically kind of comes down and blames Trump. That's the news I have for you. I've got a great prophecy and some prayer we'll do here in a second, though. But hey, if you want all of these show notes, again, you're going to go right here to blessed2teach.com with the number 2, blessed2teach.com, and you'll get the show notes right here. Easier way to do it is just come right down here and join the email list, and then you'll get a link after I'm done, either sometimes at night, sometimes in the morning, directly to everything I've just shown you. And it's, again, they render it really nicely. I think I've shown you this times before, but just here's yesterday's show notes. You'll see it's not only it shows you where the sponsors are, which people always ask me, so they're there with a click. But look at this. We don't even have to click on things. You can see all these things, and then you'll be able to share all these things on social media and just understand and read in more detail what you wanted to go in more depth of what I was not able to cover. So sign up for the show notes. And also I have a blog here that has some of my history, etc., and some other things on Christianity and Noah's Ark, etc. I've also got if you go to About, you will see the times I'm going live. Monday, it changes. Monday through Thursdays at 9 to 10 p.m. I start streaming. On Fridays, if I do it, I'm trying to take Fridays off, but at 5:30 to 6:30 is when I go live. Saturday and Sundays between 4 and 5. And I'll take periodic days off. But let's get into a prophecy. Here we have, do not fear America, says Mark Taylor. And he wrote this before the election. This was February 24th, 2016, way before the election, February of 2016. And listen what he says. And this is, again, you can find all this on swordrescue.com. S-O-R-D, no W, S-O-R-D, rescue.com. And this is a little 5-paragrapher. We'll also talk about a scripture before we wrap up here. But it says, the Spirit of God says, why do I sense fear in my people about the future of America? Have I not said that? I have heard your cries and will heal your land. Stand firm. Do not falter. Put on the full armor of God. Rake the enemy over the coals, for the end time battle is on for my 1 billion souls. The Spirit of God says, "Do not fear that my servant Justice Scalia has been taken. For some are crying out, 'Why have I forsaken?' For I will show myself strong to prove that the so-called wise are wrong. For some will say that this is a miracle, for I am just getting started. This is not even close to the pinnacle for what I'm going to do with my America. For do not my people have eyes to see and ears to hear that the two signs I gave when they carried my servant's body up the steps of the courthouse where the rest he was laid? Read the signs. Read the signs that were for all to see, and understand the words of this prophecy." And I heard Mark Taylor interviewed, and I guess at the funeral for Justice Scalia, there was sirens and a train. Sirens was the emergency. God knows there's an emergency, and He's coming to save us. And the Trump train was how He was going to do it. The Spirit of God says 5, that's right, 5 Supreme Court justices will be appointed by my new president, my anointed. I will choose 5 through the anointed to keep those alive. I will stack the court with those that I choose to send a clear message to the enemy that you lose. This is the miracle that I will perform so that my court will be reformed. The Spirit of God says, the cries that I have heard from the womb have reached my eyes and ears like a sonic boom. The 5 I appoint and the reform that shall take place, the great I Am shall take on this case. For it is my will and my way for all those that have prayed that my court shall overturn Roe versus Wade. The Spirit of God says, America, get ready, for I am choosing from the top of the cream, for I'm putting together America's dream team, from the president to his administration, to judges and Congress, to ease America's frustrations. The Spirit of God says, rise up, my army, and get in the fight, for this is the generation that's taking flight. This is the generation of warriors that those of old wanted to see, and the enemy will have no choice but to flee. Rise up, stomp the enemy's head with a bliss, send the enemy back to hell and the abyss. This is the generation of warriors that all of hell has feared to face and see. But I am, and all of heaven is cheering you on with glee. Your Supreme Commander, God. Now, I want to clarify this has nothing to do with violence. No vigilantes needed, as I think Laura Loomer was trying to talk about. Vigilantes is not what God wants. He wants our hearts. He wants prayer. He wants us to help wake people up in this great awakening. But he wants us to be active, but not from a violence perspective. But pretty powerful there about do not fear America. 5 Supreme Court justices, just think about that. We're about ready to get number 3 here with RBG once she's revealed to be unable to rule. Been kind of obvious since November, December, right? Here's one. If you go to scripturetyper.com or biblememory.com, I think they've changed it to biblememory.com. Both of them work. And then you download, or you can download on your phone, Bible Memory. It's a great way to memorize Scripture. You can search on groups. I'm blessed to teach, and you'll find my 67 or 68 verses that I have. And here's one of them, 2 Timothy 1:7. Says, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So that's what I think God's doing right here. He is bringing up this army of God, and the Spirit that God gives us is not going to make us timid, but it's going to give us a power, but also with love and self-discipline. So we're not going to go be vigilantes, but we are going to be active in our culture. And that's why I'm developing the system I've been talking to you about the cultural impact system I'll be rolling out over the next 4 or 5 months. Be an exciting time to really help you guys get engaged with other believers in the same passion area, but people with different talents to really be able to make an impact. Some people that can speak really well and be in stages, others that can support those people, others that are great with organization, others that are great with their communities and their networking, right? And this full stack team is going to be able to go attack things, and nothing's more fun than being part of a full stack team. We'll be talking about that over the next 3 or 4 months. Exciting times. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for this platform to be able to talk to so many people, number one, but number two, just this new kind of family that we've had within the Blessed to Teach family. There's a lot of people on the chat talk about it all the time. I just pray we can support each other as people, these what I call Christian patriots, people that love the Constitution, love their countries, and love their God. What a beautiful combination, Lord. And I just pray you'll empower, like you talk about with the Spirit, give these people the power, the love, and self-discipline that you talk about in 2 Timothy 1:7. Lord, thank you for that. We're here to serve you during this great awakening. Thank you. We love you. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Thanks again. Went over a little bit, 5 minutes there with it's tough to get an SB2 decode in of that length and get news in, but we were able to accomplish most of it in about an hour. I'm just bringing you guys over to talk to you a little bit and say thanks. I see Lisa and Ellie and Beach and Dream With Me. Thank you for your service. Beach Girl, Daryl, Dream, Max, Jody, Jamie, David, Tina. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here. Don and Cinetron, Margaret. And a lot of amens I see. It's awesome. Everyone asked Rick to do the Valentine's Day show with his bride in many years. Shannon's not much into this show. She is a conservative. She believes this stuff, but she's a little scared about this. You can imagine what's happened to a lot of people who fight this cabal. So I'm probably not gonna be doing it next Thursday. I'll probably be actually out with my bride at dinner. So we'll play it by ear, depending on if the Q posts or not. You're welcome, Jamie. Appreciate that. Wonder who we're missing from the SO2 Tuesday night. Yeah, there's definitely one of them was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's for sure. And we kind of knew she wasn't going to show up, right? And there was a fake Washington Post article that they even deleted the tweet on yesterday, right? About that she showed up at this theater. It's a small little theater, and I'm sure there's no picture, there's no video. It's like, right, this Washington Post, we can trust you that you saw her. One person, sure. It's funny stuff. Tammy, good to see you. See you, Lori, Patty, Dale, Pam, Sam. Good to see you guys. All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up there. Just wanted to say hi real quick to everyone, and looking forward to I'm Friday night. I'm trying to take Fridays and Mondays off. We'll see how that goes going forward. But we'll when Q's posting, I change that all around, because if he posts on Friday or Monday, I'm on. That's why I just give those times of when I try to go on, so you guys kind of get an idea of when this all happened. But God bless you. Let's wrap this up and look at who got busted. Adam Shifty Schiff got busted. Is who got busted. He was actually out with Glenn Simpson, the water boy for Russia, the water boy for Hillary Clinton and the DNC, as they paid for the fake dossier. And there's the person that's been trying to save his life. Q says, who are the loudest people? They're the ones that are most guilty. Well, this is probably one of the most loudest persons right here, is Adam Shifty Schiff. We had an SB2 Decode. This is the Blessed to Teach show on February 7th. This is Rick, your host. God bless you guys, and we will talk to you guys later.